Good morning and welcome to the Truth Network. As always, I thank you for tuning in this morning for today's message. And yesterday I spoke a message entitled Joy on Our Journey or Joy on Your Journey. And then I accidentally deleted the message before I could send it to you. And I must admit that I was a little bit dejected by my accidental deletion of that message. And I was a little bit dejected because I don't write down any of the messages or any of the words that I speak to you. I just, as God gives them to me, then I share them with you. So I was a little bit concerned with the fact that I couldn't go back and recapture that message. It wasn't written on any particular pieces of paper where I could, just kind of go back through the message and speak it to you in the manner in which it was spoken yesterday. But in that message, one of the things that I talked about in having joy on your journey was, about our perspective in how we see things that occur in our day-to-day actions. I talked about the importance of perspective and the importance of in having joy on your journey, shaping the things that happen to us and seeing them from a perspective of moving us either along that journey, needing to happen to push us into a different place on that journey, as opposed to seeing things and seeing ourselves as failures, seeing things as, permanent places of disappointment. I spoke about the importance of our perspective in how we could visualize and deal with and go through the exact same things externally. The situation doesn't change on the outside, but based upon our perspective in how we visualize and see that same situation, it could be completely different internally. We could see the same situation, and based upon our perspective, based upon the way that we see that situation, it could be a situation of joy or a situation of despair, a situation of defeat, and a situation of failure. So today I want to talk again about the importance of our perspective in helping you to see how our perspective so shape our day-to-day actions, so shape our home life, so shape the things that occur in our jobs, so shape our lives. And today I want to talk from the subject, get to versus got to. Got to say that again. I want to talk a little bit today from the subject, get to versus got to. And for a moment, I want to point out a couple of situations that to the naked eye, when, examining and looking at those situations, we are able to see the exact same situation from one person to the other. A car drives down the street, going down a one-way, and two people may be able to see outwardly that car is traveling the same way. They may be able to look at a radar and deduce that the car is going at the same speed. But internally, based upon the perspective of what's going on and how you are visualizing that car traveling down that one way. It could mean one thing for one person and mean something completely different for another person. So that says that our perspectives are vitally important to our day-to-day actions. It says that our perspectives shape our actions, shape our thoughts, and because things happen spiritually before they happen physically, well, if we are talking about an inside-out approach, then it behooves us to make sure that we correct and get right what's on the inside, so that what's on the inside might manifest itself on the outside. And as I say, I want to point out just a few situations that on the outside are identical, but are completely different on the inside based upon different perspectives. Get to versus got to. And in looking at some of the things that we deal with in our day-to-day actions, I want to ask you, how many of you have or are currently utter the words, man, I got to go to work today. I got to go to work today. Now, if you've ever uttered those words after a long holiday or after, when Sunday comes, and then when you think from the perspective of I've got to go to work, what does that do to your, what does that do to your psyche? How does that make you feel when you think, man, I've got to go to work? It's not very motivating when you think, it's like our parents saying that you got to go outside and you got to bring the garbage in. Well, directives are not very pleasant. I can't go there because, man, I gotta go to work today. Well, again, there's not much excitement when you think from the perspective that I've gotta go to work, man. I really don't feel like it, but yeah, you know that I've got to go in here today. Don't really want to, but yeah, I gotta go because I gotta pay those bills. I gotta do this. Now, same situation. You got to go to work or you need to go to work, but think how the whole dynamics shift when you think from the perspective that I get to go to work. I get to go and be productive today. I get to be excellent at what I do so that what I do might benefit others. I get to go in and make a difference. I get to, because I do exceptionally well at what I do, I get to vacation. I get to buy nice clothes. I get to buy and to live in a nice house. I get to drive a nice car. I get the opportunity to go in and make a difference. Well, you still, outwardly, nothing has changed. You still get up and you go to work. On Sunday, you still begin to prepare yourself for work on Monday. But the whole perspective changes. The whole energy level changes when you think from the place of got to versus get to. Everything changes internally. And again, you can't control what happens externally. Not in all situations, but you can control what it means to you. No, I don't got to go to work. I get to go to work. And because I get to go to work, I can be motivated based upon the fact that I get to do something that many aren't able to do. I get to do something and go to my office, and I know that many people would love the opportunity to do what I get to do. No, I don't got to, but I get to. Nothing changes externally, but everything changes internally. How many wives will utter the words or have uttered the words, girl, I've got to go home and cook today. Man, I gotta go by the grocery store, and then I gotta go home and I gotta cook, and I just got so much to do. Gotta cook. Don't make for much excitement when you think about what you got to do. It's not very inspiring when I think about I've got to cook for that man. I got to cook for those kids. I got to. Nothing changes externally about the fact that you go home and you cook. Either breakfast, lunch, or dinner for your family. But everything changes when you change from the perspective of I've got to I get to. I get to feed my family. I get to nourish my kids and help them to go out and be strong and energized in what they do. I get to see a smile on my man's face because I cooked this dinner that I don't have to. I don't got to, but I get to. I get to put love in this food. I don't got to. Nothing changes about the fact that you still cook, but everything changes internally from a perspective of got to versus get to. Again, things happen spiritually before they happen in the flesh. So again, it's my job to help you fix what's on the inside so that what's on the inside can begin to manifest itself and shine on the outside. And if we are to have joy on our journey, then we must realize that we are in control of what goes on inside. We can't control our organs. We can control what we put in our bodies to ensure that our organs operate in the manner in which they're supposed to, in their most effective manner. We can't control what happens on the outside, but we can control our perspectives in how we visualize and view the things that happen on the outside. No, I don't got to go to work, but I get to go to work. Changes everything. I don't got to cook, but I get to cook. Nothing on the outside has changed, but everything on the inside has changed. And I'm more concerned with what's on the inside because I know that what's on the inside, if it's good and if it's filled with joy and if it's filled with excitement and if it's filled with life and if it's filled with purpose and if it's filled with all the things that build up versus tear down, then I know that it can't do anything but rise up and come on the outside. So if we get the inside right, then what's on the inside can't do anything but rise up and be manifested on the outside. Too many of us have made the statements, I've got to help the kids with their homework. And when you think about the fact that I gotta go home and do that thing, it's just a drag. You know, if we're being real, we know that the kids need help. But when you think about it from the perspective, and you know that you ultimately really want to help the kids. to be successful in school. You want to help them because as a parent, that's your greatest responsibility, is to ensure that you have raised kids that can be productive, that are responsible, that are respectful, and that are prepared for life. So you don't, not want to help the kids to be successful currently and in their futures. But when you think from the perspective of I've got to versus I get to help them be successful. I get to smile knowing that because of what I do, because what I get to do benefits them. But when I think about the fact that I got to, and then I can think about all the other things in the world that I wish that I could be doing as opposed to what I gotta go home and I gotta do. Get to versus got to. Nothing on the outside changes. You still go home and you still labor with your kids to ensure that they understand what is being taught in school. But everything changes on the inside. Everything changes with your energy level. Everything, when I think about the fact that, man, I got to put out this message, man, I got to do it. Versus I get to share God's truths with the world. I get to inspire humans to excellence. I get to be an example of one that was lost before but now has found. I get to share the good news that God is not a respecter of persons. I get to glorify. I get to do these things. Not that I got to, not that I gotta go to work, not that I gotta pay the bill, not that I gotta cook for the family, not that I gotta help the kids with the homework, but I get to. And there are so many other people that would love to be able to get to do what I do. I get to pay the bills because I get to do it. I get to live in the place that I would like to live. I get to not have to deal with bill collectors calling me, harassing me. I get to not have to be, worried about whether they're going to put me out of my house. I get to drive in the car that I would like because I get to pay those I don't got to, but I get to. I get to help my kids to be successful. No, I ain't got to. Yeah, you could say whatever you want to say to try to shame me, to try to make me feel a certain way, but I ain't got to do nothing. But we place that in our spirits because our perspectives in many of cases are, I got to. It's not very inspiring. It's not very motivating. Doesn't, raise that your endorphin level to think that I gotta do this. Man, I gotta go to practice today. I've had people to say that, man, you were one of the greatest running backs to ever come through the city of Atlanta. Probably one of the greatest running backs I've ever seen. But I can say that I never got inspired by the thought of, man, I gotta go to practice today, man. Dang, I gotta go practice today. No. But when I thought about the fact that I get to run a touchdown, I get to score, I get to help the team be successful, then that brought about a level of excitement that I got to never could have brought. When you think from the perspective of I get to versus I got to, it changes everything. And if you change your perspective, it can't help but to change your actions. I gotta deal with this nagging wife of mine. I gotta deal with this nagging girlfriend of mine. I gotta deal with this nagging person that just never seems to shut up. That's not very inspiring. That doesn't bring joy to your day. That doesn't bring a degree of excitement to your day. That doesn't bring this anticipation to see that person. No. Because all you can think is, man, I gotta. versus I get to help this person understand who I am. I get to love that person because she gets to love me in all my flaws. I get to share in the activities of life. I get to be intimate with her. I get to nurture and nourish her emotionally, spiritually, and physically. I get to protect her. I get to honor her. But when you think about the fact that I gotta deal with, I gotta go home tonight, bro. I would like to go out, but I gotta go. No, you get to go home. No, you get to love her. And it's no different for women when they think I got to deal with it. I got to deal with him. He never just seems to want to, pick up behind himself. I got to deal with the fact that, I done ask him to do this. I done ask him to do that. And it seems like he never just, he always wait till the last minute to do this. Girl, I just got to do this. I gotta. It's not very inspiring, not very motivating, not very uplifting. Don't bring no exuberance into your day when you think about what you gotta do. But when you think about the fact that I get to love that man with all that I have. I get to treat him like he's the king of our castle. I get to honor him in what I do, what I say, how I carry myself. I get to show the world an example of a couple that is moving from level to level upward. I get to do these things. Not that I got to. I get to. And when we can find a place where we realize and can shift our focus from I got to I get to, then nothing may change immediately on the outside, but everything can change on the inside. And as I say, when there's a change on the inside, it'll eventually make its way to the outside. But if you continue to look at things from a perspective of I've got to, then things on the outside will continually present themselves as despair, unrest, uneasiness, all the things that don't make for joy. All the things that make for a mundane existence. But I want you to have joy on your journey. I want you to have excitement and exuberance in your day. I want you to see your today as planting the seeds and making the necessary move to move you into your greater tomorrow. But you can't have the energy and the motivation and that, air of, okay, let's get it done. If all you're thinking about is, man, I gotta do this. Dang, I don't feel like it, but I got it, man. I gotta go over here. Yeah, I gotta go to work. I got to. And yeah, you may still, nothing may change and, you may be motivated by not losing. Okay, well, I gotta go because if I don't go then I'm gonna lose the house. It's not very inspiring. You know, you do it because, again, you're adult enough to realize that there are some things that I've got to do because I don't want to put myself in that situation. I don't want to have to deal with the loss of this because I didn't do that. But it's so much better when you can think from the perspective of, no, I'm not working to prevent loss. I'm working to acquire or to gain. I get to do this, man. You don't understand why I'm excited, but if you realize that it's because I realize that I get to put my clothes on and walk in my office and look good when I walk in my office. I get to come to work and have folks saying, yes, sir, or yes, ma'am, and how is your day? And to ask me, what do I think the procedure and the protocol should be for the activities of, I get to do that. I get to ride in my car. I get to go home and I get to love on those that I love. No, I ain't got to, but I get to. And when you understand the fact that I get to, then you can understand why I'm excited about the fact that what you see as I got to, I see as I get to. So if we're going to begin to change what's on the outside, we've got to change what's on the inside. And the one thing that you have absolute control over is your conscious thoughts. Don't mean that things won't come upon you. Don't mean that things won't present themselves to you and enter into your mind. But you have even control of how you perceive and deal with those things. You got the perspective to see them as, oh my God, am I that kind of person because I let that thought come into my mind? Or you have the authority and the control to see it as, say, remove thyself from my presence, because I choose not to even entertain that thought. You have control over your conscious thoughts. And if we're if God has given us that control, then we may as well control how we look at situations. We may as well control and put ourselves in a situation that will be motivating to us, will be inspiring to us, will be uplifting to us. And again, it's difficult to find excitement, exuberance, and upliftness in thinking from the perspective of I've got to. But it's real easy when you think from the perspective that I get to. Well, you get to love those that are around you today. You get to share an encouraging word with another. You get to move about your day with purpose, with energy, with joy, with service. You get to take care of your body today, ensuring that you're treating it in the best possible way that you know how. You get to choose your words in interacting with others. You get to choose your activities today. You get to choose. You get to. You don't got to, but you get to. So decide that you're going to make the choice to take charge in how you see things. Decide that, okay, God, if that you've given me charge over that, then I choose to see things from a get-to perspective versus a got-to perspective. I think that when you make this change, Again, it may not immediately change your outside world, but it will begin to change your inside world. And when we change our inside world, it can't help but to change our outside world. I love you. I thank you. I hope that the words have inspired you to begin looking at life from a get to versus a got to. Because I truly want you to have joy on your journey. I truly want you to have all the right desires of your heart. I want all of the places that you aspire to go and to be, for those things to become your reality. So I share with you what God has given to me to share with you, with the hopes that it has been uplifting and it helps you along your journey. I thank you. I love you. God bless you. And until next time, goodbye.